In his Summa Theologica, St. Thomas Aquinas offers 5 proofs to justify God's existence. 1, the cosmological proof, results from the study of the universe. It attempts to prove that there must be either a sufficient reason or a first cause for the existence of the cosmos.
Since there's some controversy about what on earth sufficient reason could be, let me just replace that with the principle of universal explanation. If your car won't start, there's an explanation. If a certain virus is spreading in Eastern Africa, there's an explanation for the fact that it's just started to spread. Things don't just happen. There's always an explanation.
If there were an ultimate explanation for everything that comes about, then what you need is a being which is not capable of coming into being, so it connects with the ontological argument. If there is something not capable of coming into being, then that won't fall under the premise everything that comes into being must have a cause.
It is certain and evident to our senses that some things in the world around us are moving. Now, if something is moving, it must have been moved by something else. But this cannot go on to infinity, because then there would be no first mover. So, there must be a first mover that is not itself moved. And this first unmoved mover is what we mean by God. Thomas Aquinas.
Back in the Middle Ages, Thomas Aquinas said that if the universe began to exist, that it would clearly point to a cause beyond itself which was responsible for bringing the universe into existence. But Aquinas, of course, had no way of proving that the universe began to exist, so he always tried to prove the existence of God on the more difficult hypothesis that the universe was eternal in the past.
But current scientific theory suggests that the universe did have a finite beginning some 15 or 20 billion years ago, in an event known as the Big Bang.
Well, the Big Bang Theory is really a startling theory because we see all the clusters of galaxies and the galaxies, which are groups of stars. If you look in every direction, they're all receding from us. And the further they are from us, the faster they're receding. Now, the inference that's drawn from that is that at some time in the past, they were all piled up on top of each other. And they must have, and what we're seeing, what's now is the results of the explosion of this time when all the galaxies are all compacted together. And that this Big Bang, the Big Bang explosion, is when all these, the matter in the galaxies just blew apart. And the mystery is according to current scientific laws, there can be no cause of this original explosion.
The Big Bang Theory offered a paradigm shift in the modern cosmological debate. The universe wasn't a static, eternal, necessarily existing entity, but one with a finite beginning created out of nothing. Why did this universe come to exist?
What the Big Bang model points to is that in fact the universe is not eternal in the past, that the universe began to exist, that it came into being out of nothing, and therefore it drops into the lap of the philosopher precisely that missing premise that Thomas Aquinas thought made it obvious that God exists. In order to be a transcendent cause of all matter and energy, space and time themselves, this cause would have to be itself uncaused, timeless, spaceless, and therefore immaterial, changeless, and enormously powerful, which are some of the core attributes of what theists have always meant by God.
But I think that argument has strength at most only so far as it shows that there may be some cause or other of our universe. But to go from there and say it's a God is a big leap. I mean, for all we know, the cause could be a contracting cycle of a previous universe, or it could be a black hole in some other universe that imploded, and our Big Bang explosion is just a result of that black hole.
Big Bang singularity, the initial explosion, was completely unpredictable, with no physical laws to predict its behavior. To some, this is evidence against the Big Bang as being caused by a supreme being.
And so the universe at the very beginning was headed with an enormous probability towards ending up being a completely lifeless universe. It was the biggest mess possible because all the particles were emitted in completely random states. So you couldn't get a more random, a more disordered state possible. Now why would a all-powerful, all-knowing God want to create this mess and then have to say, look, this mess here, what am I going to do now, this great big mess? I have to fix it up, clean it up, and do this and that just to make sure that so human beings can evolve. That doesn't seem likely what a perfect being would do.
I find the argument that it would be irrational of God to create first an inanimate singularity out of which then an animate universe would evolve to be an enormously implausible and presumptuous objection to theism. It seems to me that God is at liberty to create whatever state of the universe initially he wanted to, and that it may be the fact that God delights in the creative activity of fashioning a beautiful world, beginning with the raw material given in the singularity.